All right, welcome to this explainer. Today we're celebrating the raw, untamed energy of a true rock and roll original, Freddy Boom Boom Cannon, who just recently passed away on July 17, 2026. This wasn't some manufactured pop star. No way. This was a guy who built his entire career on pounding bass drums, pure adrenaline, and just an absolute, unmistakable passion for the music.
Let's just dive right into this incredible life by starting with the man's own words, because I think they perfectly capture his gritty authenticity. He said, "I'm not any of those. I'm a rock and roll act. I don't have a great voice, but I'll tell you something right now, I'll rock with the best out there live on stage." I mean, how great is that unyielding confidence? He didn't pretend to be this flawless vocalist, right? He knew his superpower was getting up on that stage and rocking harder than literally anyone else in the room.
Okay, Section 1. Origins of Boom Boom, from Revere to the R&B charts.
So, to really understand the legend, we've got to look at his roots. Born in 1936 in Revere, Massachusetts, and raised in Lynn, he was a truck driver's son who actually taught himself how to play guitar. Growing up on a steady diet of R&B greats like Big Joe Turner and Buddy Johnson, Freddie really built his musical foundation early on. He married his high school sweetheart, Jeanette, right in his teens. By 1956, he was already making waves, playing lead guitar on the R&B hit Ka-Ding Dong, which cracked the Billboard charts at number 24. And by the late 1950s, he had formed his own group, Freddie Carbon and the Hurricanes, finding his footing on local Boston TV dance shows before his massive breakout.
Section 2. Tallahassee Lassie changes everything. The unlikely blueprint of a smash hit.
Now this leads us to the absolute defining moment of his career. And get this, it actually started with his mom. Step 1. His mother Antoinette writes a poem called "She's My Rock and Roll Baby" and asks Freddie to put it to music. Then, Step 2. Swan Records producers Bob Crew and Frank Slay decide to rewrite the lyrics, creating Tallahassee Lassie, but they keep the melody and his mother's original vibe intact. Finally, Step 3. Dick Clark, who co-owned a label at the time, hears it and makes this absolute genius suggestion. Re-record it with the bass drums pushed way up front. This collaborative pipeline is just fascinating, right? Because it was that specific note from Dick Clark on the bass drum that officially birthed the Boom Boom nickname.
And I think this next number brilliantly illustrates his grassroots origins. $35. That is exactly what it cost for Freddie and his band to record the initial demo of that game-changing track back in 1958. $35, literally the cost of a couple of pizzas today, and they recorded a piece of history.
Well, that $35 session turned into absolute gold, literally. Released in July 1959, Tallahassee Lassie skyrocketed, peaking at number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100, selling well over 1 million copies, and earning a gold disc. It basically proved that raw, thumping, unfiltered power was exactly what audiences were craving at that exact moment in time.
Moving on to Section 3. The explosive hitmaker, dominating the charts and the screen. Freddie was far from a one-hit wonder. His chart performance was honestly incredible. In 1960, he dropped a rocking cover of a 1922 classic, Way Down Yonder in New Orleans, and it hit number 3 in both the US and the UK. Then, his album The Explosive, Freddie Cannon, went all the way to number 1 on the UK albums chart. To put that into perspective, he was only the 4th rock artist to ever achieve that, joining the super rare ranks of folks like Bill Haley and Elvis. Then you have his signature 1962 smash Palisades Park, hitting US Hot 100 number 3. It was written by Chuck Barris, Yes the Future Gong Show host, and featured that completely unmistakable Circus Calypso sound. He also sang Action, the theme song for Dick Clark's TV show Where the Action Is. Over his career, he notched an astonishing 23 Hot 100 hits between 1959 and 1981.
But the absolute crucial point regarding his status as this unparalleled showman, it all boils down to one number, 110. Freddie holds the all-time record for the most appearances on American Bandstand, 110 times. Dick Clark knew exactly what he had with him, a performer who could get literally any studio audience instantly on their feet.
Which brings us to Section 4. No ballads, just rock. Standing apart from the teen idols. In an era that was really dominated by a very specific, kind of sanitized aesthetic, Freddie Cannon drew a massive line in the sand. On one side, you had the clean-cut teen idols of the time, your Fabians, Frankie Avalons, Bobby Rydell's. They were polished, they were pretty, and they were primarily vocalists who sang a lot of soft ballads. But then on the flip side, you had Freddy Boom Boom Cannon, just raw, unpolished energy, a sweating, passionate guitarist who actually wrote 22 of his charting songs. And the most important distinction here, he adamantly refused to do ballads. As he famously put it, he never ever did ballads. Freddy wasn't there to look pretty, you guys. He was there to rock.
All right, Section 5. Influencing the Giants. The Boom Boom Ripple Effect.
This uncompromising dedication to real rock and roll heavily influenced some of the most famous cultural icons of the 20th century. The ripple effect here is insane. Mick Jagger explicitly stated that Tallahassee Lassie inspired the groove of the Rolling Stones' massive hit Brown Sugar. The Stones even recorded their own cover of Tallahassee Lassie in 1978. Led Zeppelin's Robert Plant personally told Freddy they recorded a blues version of his hit. And it wasn't just music either. Horror legend Stephen King wove Cannon's name into at least 4 of his novels. He was also super connected to television, becoming great friends with Svengoolie, Rich Kaz, and even writing a song for his show. So yeah, Cannon's footprint on pop culture was absolutely massive.
And finally, Section 6. Farewell to a pioneer, rocking right up to the end. Despite immense personal tragedies in his final years, his dedication to the music just never wavered. Freddy endured some really devastating losses late in life. His high school sweetheart and wife Jeanette passed away in September 2024, which was followed tragically by the loss of his son John in April 2026. Yet remarkably, in early 2026, he was still in the studio recording new music. Ultimately, on July 17, 2026, Freddy passed away at 89 from bladder cancer in a hospice facility in Oxnard, California, surrounded by his surviving children, Connie and Billy. As fans and friends poured out their hearts online, the tributes echoed exactly what he meant to the genre. One fan wrote, "Rock and roll has lost one of its true pioneers, the legend and true rocker of his generation." Looking at the outpouring of love, it became crystal clear that he was viewed as a direct, untamed link to the very origins of rock and roll. As we wrap up this explainer, we want to leave you with this final, powerful reminder. Freddy lived for the music, for the energy, for the pure moment. So here's the ultimate question inspired by Boom Boom's incredible legacy. In a world full of polished imitations and digital perfection, are you ready to put on a record, turn it up loud, and let your own raw, authentic energy shine?